All right.
I said, ready, set, go.
Come on.
Welcome everybody to Do It Live Autonomy podcast. This is the extreme edition. Doing it live, coming back from Farmers Market. Got a great group of people with me today. We got Lee. Say hello, Lee.
Hey, Autonomy family. I'm really thrilled to be here. Welcome to Do It Live.
Got Ludvio.
Yeah.
Say hi, Ludvio.
Hi. Hi. Hello.
Got Lawrence holding it down. We got Ted in the room.
Good day.
Howdy.
Jason Ross is joining us. We got a good group of people here.
Do it outside.
All right. Well, this last week was pretty fun in Autonomy. I definitely have a unique vantage point of being behind the scenes and seeing what's all going down in supporting your guys' experience. But I'd really just love to hear about the season 4 students going through this, entering into this information for the first time. I imagine it kind of started off kind of like, well, with this group of people, kind of knew about the issue with the school history, but now we're really getting into some tangible, heavy, detailed information on how to lead to success. Anybody want to talk about kind of a breakthrough or their experience of the material this week?
I'll say something if you don't mind. I'm always good to start things rolling. That's kind of my job in the world, I believe, sometimes. Two things, actually, was really interesting. Last week and this week, both light bulbs have been going off, or flash bulbs or flares or something's been going off in my head. And two things. One was the idea of, I've managed people, I've managed departments for a long time, and my calendar typically gets filled up with lots of meetings, right? People want my time. I never really thought about putting on my calendar time for me to get my stuff done, like block off. So I'll post an image of my calendar in the chat a little bit later, and you'll see what it looks like on a daily basis. I basically manage 2 departments and a bunch of people, and I'm interacting with a lot of things. And I have these projects I have to get done myself that I never seem to, I'm always behind on my own stuff, right? I'm managing everybody else's stuff, but I'm behind on my own stuff. So it was last week, I'm like, why the hell aren't I, budgeting time for my stuff instead? I'm always, playing catch up. So I started doing that. That was based upon last week. And then in this week, the whole concept of selling the SELL, and I'm not so sure the love part I'm still struggling with, but I get the point, right? That you're doing something with compassion. You're serving other people. Because I've had chances to be in sales organizations across my career because people think, you'd be a great sales guy, Ted. And I always thought sales was kind of like that. Like a lot of people think, right? It's kind of an icky thing based upon really the salesmen I've interacted with in my career, either buying things or working in the company. They were like some of this, I don't know, swarmiest dudes, I can find. But I've had some good ones too. So that gave me a different perspective too. And maybe if I approach sales now from a different perspective of serving people and trying to help them, it becomes a lot less threatening, because that's the way to look at it. So basically 2 breakthroughs. I mean, back to back. And
let's hear about how. I want to hear about how you created some space for yourself. Like, what did you actually do? What tools are you using? How did you go about that?
Well, I have a calendar. I haven't gotten my pedometer yet, whatever thing's called. That's this week. The timing tomato. Pomodoro, yeah, that thing. Pomodoro.
Timer. I got one and I don't use it. So
well, okay, but I'll try that too. But just the idea of blocking off time for okay, we're going to work on the next half hour on this project. One of them's the 2021 marketing strategy and plan. And it's I have a lot of meetings about it, but I leave the meetings and it's like I'm always off doing something else versus taking what I just did in that meeting or those meetings and putting it into action right away. Because problem is, even though you write stuff down, the ideas kind of die. So I started doing that. I started just putting time on my calendar to do those projects that are critical to get done within the next 30 days, right? And I actually advised someone who works for me who's having the same problem, getting stuff done, because she's actually one of the people in charge of answering the phones and runs that area for us in the customer support area. And I said, start blocking off time for yourself. And I said, just block off half an hour, 20 minutes to do those little tiny things you have to get done. And so I've sort of, not only did I learn it, I passed it along quickly to somebody in my direct line of reports. So
nice. It's crazy that you haven't done that up until now, and you can still,
well, I'm slow.
Progress, like survive. No, I'm not saying anything about you, but just like business in general, because I'm dealing with that too, where like you almost have to viciously carve out time for yourself in order to get these things done.
And it should be easier now that I'm here, right? There's nobody knocking on my door to come into my office going, "Hey, Ted, you got 5 minutes?" No. I'm basically in my basement. I may get a ping on my screen. It says, "You got 5 minutes?" I can say, "No, I got time for you at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, wherever it is." So yeah, I think these skills, if I ever wind up back in an office again, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. But the skills I'm learning already are just paying benefits for my existing job, and those will carry through into my entrepreneurship when I get to that point in my career. So funny how you can learn something at any age, and something simple, right? Something very simple. And there you go.
But adds up as the weeks and months go by. Moving forward an inch every day by carving time for yourself.
Right.
Like, and it still baffles me, and I think it is just common practice in most businesses to like not do that, right?
No, yeah.
And to just like putting out fires every day of what's most important.
Right. And that's what's happening, right? You tend to run to the thing that's the hottest thing. And when you're a manager, there's always something going on, right? Someone's got a problem, either personal or business wise. You have drama in the organization. You have to deal with personalities and, kind of running interference. And it can be, they're all good people too. It's just a matter of, you're so much of giving of yourself as a manager. If you're a good leader, you do that, right? You have to make time for people, but also make time for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be a horrible leader because you don't get anything done. So you learn something, right? So thanks, Autonomy. Thanks, Richard, for your insights in that. And, there you go. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm right in the thick of needing to try and wrestle making time for people, scheduling meetings. I'm kind of doing all. I'm a part of all departments right now with Autonomy Unlimited, and sales and administration, finances. Like, it's pretty crazy to try and juggle all this, and like it has to stem from a really organized schedule. Otherwise, yeah, I get bombarded, and I'm even still like I'm running kind of ragged right now with trying to do it all and accomplish all the little tasks that move all the projects forward. And
I used to work for a guy, and he had the paper calendar, the big 8.5 by 11, open it up, with the days in it and the times and all that kind of stuff. And he told his secretary those little tiny Post-it notes, and she would put his meetings on these things. Then he'd walk up and look at and tear off the ones he didn't want. And somebody say, "I had a meeting with you at 9:30." He goes, "It's not on my calendar," which is kind of almost, it was kind of really I wouldn't say, I'll use a part of a body move on his part, but it was kind of funny how he'd actually manage his time that way. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to talk. He just pull off the ones he didn't want and just meet with everybody else. So
that seems so chaotic to like operate a business that way. And I mean, you're breaking trust. You're doing so much damage.
I'm sorry. He was cognitively impaired. So that was my breakthroughs.
Maybe
And then
he got
sales
that process from Harvard Business School or something.
Yeah. If you know somebody went to Harvard Business School, you can tell, how they tell you every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They work it in every sentence,
Anyone else want to share any breakthroughs they had this week?
Yeah. I want to share. We actually had the breakthrough with Lee. It seems like we were really dream about it all. And finally, we kind of zoned in and
Okay, go
started
slow. Go slow.
some big plans and creating a big dream for ourselves to really hijack. Maybe Lee, maybe you can tell from your perspective, like what changed in the last couple of hours in your life.
When I saw the recent lecture and the way that it was described, what sales can be when it's at its best, just blew my mind. I had no idea. Over for like the last year, I was always typing reports for my students as an online English teacher. And in every single report,
Go get her.
I encourage this person, I encourage this student to explore this part of grammar or this kind of thing. So I've been like doing this and like with every class, every student, one by one for like over a year, encouraging all these people. And I've been doing that for such a long time. And now I've redirected it towards myself. And now I encourage myself as well to go through and grab and make real those things, those ideas that a lot of people have had for such a long time. And so this thing, sincerely encourage by listening and loving, I'm like, that's what I do. I think people are great. But the good people are the ones that you should give your time to, and then quickly distinguish who is not with your time.
Yeah. So Lee seems to want to go into sales and dream building for other people now. And yeah, yesterday I heard he wanted to be an English teacher and want to get into copywriting because it can bring a lot of money. And so I see a lot of people are stuck in this mentality where they need to do certain thing to start living that dream, and I think it's kind of a trap. So yeah, that's it. if I said it correctly, right? Basically, what I'm getting at is that to live your dream now and don't expect for money. Don't expect a different stream of income for your dream. Start doing it now, and I think it all will fall into place.
Well, I think the definition of dream needs to be established, right? Because it's not something that you're going to achieve one day, but it's always going to be that carrot on the stick that you'll never actually get there. And so shifting over to appreciating the journey of the destination you're heading towards would that be a better definition of dream?
I guess, yeah. I think you're on point on that. Yeah, living the dream. Don't wait for the dream to like be the dream, right?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, I used to be stuck in a restaurant industry and, not making very much money and wanting more for myself, a better lifestyle to be able to provide for my family. But I didn't know the steps I needed to take. But I was like doing some like visualizations of like what I wanted in my life. And I think that helped kind of anchor a destination for me to start finding those resources to head in that direction. But I understand like being stuck with like just dreaming, right? And thinking like, oh, I want that. I'm not going to take action, or I'm not going to like figure out a plan of how to get that. And you sacrifice all that with just this dream that you'll never aspire to.
Yeah, and that mentality that you need to first like do this or get that thing. Like people are too fixated on how to get to the dream instead of asking the question why. right? So, like for my experience right now, I thought that I need to become a web designer, like an established web designer first before I start doing the consulting work, because I'm not skilled enough or something. But now I think that I could start doing it right away, and it will slowly start falling into place.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you just need your first client to legitimize your new like profession. I myself, that's how I got started into digital marketing and got out of the restaurant industry. Was I learned some basics. I then was introduced to a client who needed help through a friend, and built myself a website. And then got it my first client, and then I was off to the races. And ever since then, I've just been learning as I've gone.
Yes.
I
So my
totally
first,
agree. I
yeah.
totally agree. I had that situation happen when I began doing a distribution business. That first one, then you realize this is actually possible. It is a reality. It's not just something that you wonder if it can be done and you accomplish that. It's like, that's all you need. And then it's just all forward progress, right?
Yeah, so we are gathering assets right now with Lee, and not tomorrow, but today. That's the whole point, to start doing it tomorrow, to gather the assets, the inspiration, and we want to set up a website already for us. So, I mean, the website is not necessary. It's more for us, to be honest, and so we can, look at it. Wow. So yeah, this is like real. But yeah, definitely the sales. The focus on the sales first, as in the last week lecture, and the most recent one of the last, I think is the most important thing to start a new business, to get that first client in. People are too fixated on all of those other things around. Like you first like, I feel like a good idea is to first sell your service, and then actually land it on the go. This is how I landed my first real job ever. I got the worst advice from my friend. He told me to never take a job if you are not sure if you can do it. And I never did the website in my life. So I thought, wow, this is the worst advice I ever heard. So I took that job. I posed myself as an expert in that field. I guess I was like an expert, but I didn't do a website like in reality, but in theory I knew a bit about it, and I got a pretty good deal for a first time. Like, people making like 10 websites before they get to this kind of money. And so you just need to like listen to the client and try to solve his answer to all his questions. And if you don't know answer to the question, just be real and tell him that you're gonna do everything that you can to get the best information about the topic, or just tell him you're gonna send them to someone who knows that topic the best. And I think most people would appreciate that and still give you the job you want.
I heard this great quote of I forget the lady's name, but basically it said, amateur professionals know that they are, oh man, I'm butchering it. Professionals professionals know that they are learning on the fly, and amateurs pretend that they're not. Beth, you've been designing websites for a long time. How did you first get into that? No audio. Okay, great. Beth has been designing websites from Hawaii, I think, for what, 10 years now or something like that? Quite a long time. She has a nice, successful business, and she's been staying really busy with everything moving over to online in this last year. So I know she's been keep it busy. And I'm pretty sure she has a team that she's able to get support with all the different jobs. But she's definitely been boots on the ground, needing to learn how to accommodate clients, how to bring on clients, how to find clients, and then how to make sure that they're satisfied. And so you can create this this loop. And I'll show you.
I had a meeting with Beth, and then later on she came back and showed me some examples of her work, and I thought it looked really clean and elegant. She suited it, everything that she designed for exactly what her clients wanted, and I was impressed. I thought it looked great. She seems to know what she's doing.
I'm shooting you the link, Beth.
Yeah, maybe you can plug her
Operator,
in.
she needs an exit. Well, cool. Well, while Beth is figuring that out, anybody else on the call had some breakthroughs from this last week?
Hey, yeah, I've had about 2 or 3 years of experience in sales, like between door to door and on phone sales and things like that. And that's over a course of like 4 different places working, because I generally either stepped out or failed out because I just wouldn't do the work the way they wanted it done. Like there was one, the most successful one I had was at Anderson Windows, because you could just actually see a problem on a person's house and point out, hey, we know how to fix that if you want to get it fixed. And there's nothing wrong with that job, but I wouldn't twist people's arm and I wouldn't mess with their head or confuse them or anything. And so they were saying, if you can't make, you know, a certain amount of money per hour doing this, then we don't really want you to be doing it, because these guys over here can make us, you know, X amount of money because they have like mental tricks with NLP and various things. Like my brother was in it, and one day I wasn't doing very well. And he's like, dude, I got this for you. Don't worry. And he just walked up and he just said some things to this old lady. And it was like, some of it, I was like, this isn't even a sentence, man. I don't even know what you're saying. And he walked away and she's sitting there holding the paper. She's like, with this look on her face, like, I have no idea what just happened to me or what I signed. And I was like, this lady has no idea people are coming to her house tomorrow at all. She doesn't know what's going on. Like, and I was like, this is not what I want to be doing, dude. So I just figured it was like that. Like every time you see like landing pages and things on the internet, it's always looking slimy. Pop-up ads are looking slimy. It was like every kind of sales you see is like, there's a trick going on here and I don't like it, to the point that I kind of, anytime you see that someone has something to offer, it's almost like, ugh, get away from this guy. Where they give sales a bad name to the point where you don't want anything to do with any product offer or anything. People have to apologize for having an ad on their podcast, even if it's for something they actually like, you know, which is like, and it's a good product. And the way you guys are explaining how to do sales, it sounds like that's exactly what a person would want to do with their life, helping people with their problems and solving things, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know about sales until I went through Autonomy for my first season, and I was relieved to hear that I was already doing it. Like this is what I naturally do is help people. But what really hit home for me with my first season was asking for my own self-worth. I was over delivering and like over accommodating to everyone, and not asking for like what I was what I could have been paid for the job, because I was just too much of a helper. And so it really has to be that like that fair value exchange in order for it to be sustainable for both parties. And so it has to be a win-win in order for that. And once I heard Rich describe it in this way, yeah, it's not this slimy, manipulative process, but it's something like I naturally want to do and brings me joy just to like help others. And then you can figure out that, hey, I can actually make a living doing this.
Well, and it seems like the whole narrative around sales that most people understand it to be just helps perpetuate the negative system. Because, I mean, you get the people who could use some improvements in their life, but they don't want to go out and put themselves out there because that'd be seen as sleazy. And then the people that do want enough to improve their life, they're like, well, if I want to improve my life, then I have to go out there and be sleazy. And that's the only opportunity for me to be successful. So yeah, just putting the alternate narrative out there that spreading value around is how you're successful, and that can bring you success to your life. And it seems like a powerful message to be combating the alternative with.
Right. And how disempowering is it to not be able to exchange value between individuals, right? Like we're taught through society, we have to go through these societal channels. You have to go to a professional lawyer, or like you have to go through these established networks in order to get what you need, and you're not allowed to just exchange with those around you, and we're not taught the tools of how to do that.
And if you do want to go exchange with those around you, they set up a whole bunch of hoops you got to go through to even think that you actually are allowed to.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some sort of an analogy going on there between, like, I don't quite have my hands on this mentally, but there's something about how there's a power that could be used for good, but is basically everyone's just using it to harm each other or get things over on each other. But it, like, sitting there, and it should be used for good to help people out. It seems like that kind of carries across disciplines.
Hey, Joshua, I think can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. I've had this notice on Zoom that said my mic wasn't working, and I have an item on my checklist to check it today, but I spontaneously decided to come on Do It Live first time. I'm a first timer today. So I didn't have time to check it before I got on, but thanks for the shout out. And also thanks, Lee, for your kind words. Last night was hilarious because I was listening to the lecture, and then just before the Q&A, there was that commercial that came on. I don't know if you guys were there during that time, but all of a sudden it started talking about Beth, the web designer in Hawaii, in the Autonomy commercial. And I'm like, I felt like I had this moment like I was in the Minority Report movie or something, where I'm like, are they talking to everybody like simultaneously, like with their name? And and I'm like, it tripped out. I'm like, Jim, I'm in the commercial. Like, how did I get in the commercial? It was cracking me up. So funny. So that was a fun little bit. But I would be happy to share just a bit about how we got started. I'm an acupuncturist, actually, and I trained as an acupuncturist. I graduated in 2006, and so that was my original path. And back it was around 2008, I guess, Jim and I got inspired. We wanted to write a book. Our very first book we wrote was called Where's the Map? And that was before Test Drive Your Future. It was the predecessor to that, but same concept, like we're helping young people discover what in the world they want to do with their lives. And we had a website designed by somebody who was in the Caribbean. He didn't finish it because he had a bigger site to work on. And so, but he gave me enough of the tools to figure out how to finish it. At this time, it was a HTML site, and I was pulling out Dreamweaver to edit it. And very soon after that, I learned about WordPress and learned about tools that wouldn't. At the time, we were buying, it was a $3,000 website. That many years ago, that was a pretty big investment. We were bootstrapping everything, and so I found about these other tools that would allow for people to get off the ground much more quickly and in a much more of a do-it-yourself way. And so after just playing with that, it became something that was so easy for me to do that naturally Jim, who is in this computer doctor role with other businesses and nonprofits, he just started to mention my name if somebody had a website need. And I hadn't, so I went from, I wasn't intending to build a business. I was just intending to like support our own projects. And then he would bring one of the very first projects for us was a nonprofit here called North Hawaii Hospice. And they they had in Hawaii, it's pretty common to have service people not return your phone calls, not show up when they say they're going to. And so like the bar is really low to just like to be excellent. Like you just have to be pretty good, and then you'll get it, you know, you get an open door. And so I was, you know, we were pretty good enough that we just calling back the executive director and having a conversation was like enough to get in the door and be able to, you know, present myself and answer her questions. And so that just, you know, it's like that led to one thing and which led to the next thing. And slowly I discovered that like my balance of, I was doing acupuncture, and then I started doing more and more web design. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this full time. And now not am I only doing this full time, but I need to bring on help. And so I do have a couple contractors that have worked with me. I'm in a little bit of a like place now where I'm trying to decide whether we're expanding. I go through like this expansion contraction phase a lot where I'm like, am I scaling things up and systematizing them? I love systematizing. I could do that all day. But sometimes it's like, it's taking that next step and like bringing in somebody to really provide the help that we need. So it was absolutely a do-it-yourselfer role. I wasn't ever formally trained in anything that I do related to web design. We just like, you know, the first sites we designed were horrible in comparison to what we could do now. Like, it's pretty funny. But now, you know, we redesigned North Hawaii Hospice the second time, and we're continuing to work with clients on a recurring basis. So that then when they come in, it's like, we've seen the evolution of their project and their site. And it's so easy to just like help them better, take them up to that next level, because we've grown with them. Like where I am now is like, it's light years ahead of where I was before. That was just a little of the web design story. So thank you. Thanks for letting me share a little bit.
That's really cool and inspiring, and right along the lines of everybody's kind of learning about new skills in autonomy and how it's attainable, right? If you want to switch career paths, or if you want to learn new schemes, or just want to have a side hustle, Ludwig, this is kind of what you're dealing with right now, right?
Oh man, I mean, like my life, like I said in the previous podcast, my life is changing rapidly. Like yeah, a couple of then I want to start a tribe. Now I wanted to be a salesman for Autonomy. Like I thought that being a salesman would be the last thing in my life that I would like to do. But now, how you guys laid it out, like nobody else, like what a proper sales looks like in action is just a very like amazing topic to explore and to provide value to other people and listen to their needs. And yeah, so.
I've honestly grown into just really loving doing sales for Autonomy Unlimited. Like it's one of my favorite aspects. Just meet new people, discover what their problems are, and then if it's a good fit, and only if it's a good fit, let them know that like, hey, there's solutions on the other side of this door. I can show you where the door is. You can choose to walk through it, and it's really fulfilling to be able to connect those dots and to see that through. But then, yeah, for me, like then it enters into project management mode, and I got to see those projects all the way through. There's just so many different components other than sales, but I could see myself one day on a beach and just like taking a sales call, handing it off, right? Like there's a door, they enter the door, great. The rest of the team will take care of that for you. And yeah, I can see simplifying my life that way.
Like I had obviously the Blueprint meeting with you, Joshua, and that was a really interesting day. And then later on, I was going through some of the videos and I saw that interview you guys had with Brock from King Kong, and also some of the promotional stuff. And then of course I could go and check out King Kong website and see what, but it didn't really make it much of an impact on me. It didn't seem to be something that was interesting to me in any way until the lecture. Until I saw that lecture, and then the way that it was presented of sales, and it's just like, holy crap, sincerity. You know what I mean? Encouraging other people, listening to what other people have to say, realizing that that's a really important part of communication, right? It cannot be only output. And then when you switch it around from like 80 output to like, 80 listening percent, and you can see that that's like transformative, because the other party was just like, oh, wow, this person really wants to connect and find out what I need. Because if you're not willing to do that, how can you offer anything that's useful to that individual if you're not willing to get that information from them? And they want to give it to you. They're looking for those solutions. They're desperate to find who can provide these solutions. And you're like, I'm right here. I'm the guy that's sitting right across the table from you.
One of
Man.
my sorry.
Go ahead, Beth. Go ahead.
I was going to say that that reminded me of like one of my recent calls with a colleague who was coming to me for like a landing page. She was convinced that she needed to do this whole digital marketing thing, but she was resisting it. And one of my favorite conversations that I had with her was that I actually was present enough to listen to what she needed and then be able to convince her that what she thought she needed, she didn't. Like she was coming to me to give me money to like build this whole thing up. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like that's what you want. Like she was totally a person that wanted to connect with people in person. And like, I felt like something that was more like, relationship marketing. Like she was really into the idea of like card, like the whole send out card concept. And like, that was definitely more her alley. Like the idea of digital marketing totally stressed her out. And I'm like, why would you go there? Like, and so by the end of the conversation, I had convinced her to not be my customer, but to be kind of like my lifelong, like, friend, kind of in that sort of way, where I was like, that was just one of my favorite sales calls that didn't result in a sale, I guess.
Yeah, that has to be a component, right? Like you're not trying to close no matter what. If you're playing that game, then the whole like integrity and like shared experience goes out the door, and then it is just manipulating others for your own benefit. And I was gonna say about the 80-20 rule, Lee. Before Autonomy, I was the guy talking 80% of the time in my introductory calls with people, and I was trying to wow them with how much I knew, and I would just talk nonstop, showcasing all these like tools I have available to solve problems. And in retrospect now, yeah, like I was doing the exact opposite of what I do now, which is just listen. I take probably 40 minutes of notes, and then once I've defined their problem and what they're and we have a solution for them, then I'll say, so are you ready to hear about a solution to this problem? And they go, yeah. They give me permission, and then I'm like, boom, let it loose for 2 minutes and stop. Like, don't go any further than that, because I could easily dominate the conversation and just run them over, and then everything that they were already thinking about, they forgot. So just like crank open the juice just for a minute and then stop, and then like bring it back to them. And I've learned I'll have plenty of time to demonstrate my expertise, like in our relationship when we're actually working on the problem. But that alone just completely changed the dynamics of my discovery calls with new clients to see if we'd be a good fit.
Like,
Yeah,
that was my introduction to you, and I love that meeting. When that meeting went through, but when that meeting was over, I was like, I was totally right. This is totally the right thing to do. I was like, this is what I was waiting. Like you asked me like, what's going on with you in your life, and why are you here? And why did you why did you send the email and set the meeting? And I told you, I said, I could feel my whole life shrinking down into this 1 week, that this week something was going to go either this way in one direction, or is definitely going to go in some other thing. And when I had that meeting with you, it's just like, well, now I know which direction I'm going to choose. I'm going that way. I'm going that way. And Josh was like, hey man, there's this whole other thing. Why don't you check this stuff out? Check out what we've got. And it was like, wow. And you were like, Lee, this is a really great thing that's going on here. And I was like, yeah, man, that was like, the time of my life. And like, I forgot all about, sorry to say it, Richard Grove, I forgot all about you because I was having such a great time talking to Joshua. It was such a great meeting. It was one of the best meetings I've ever been in my entire life. It was a really great thing. I think you did your work and you were really prepared for that. And I think it probably took some time for you to, or maybe not, maybe you had like the lightning flash and then you just started running in that direction.
I remember that, and it was really great. I didn't like rely on my script. I kind of like knew how to start, and then our conversation took a whole like life of its own, and it was just really great to get to know you and to figure out where you're at. And it was obvious that like you were primed and ready, and Autonomy was a perfect fit for you. So really, I didn't have to steer the conversation. It just naturally like unfolded, and this, yeah, it was really divine. Like it was totally, I was there with you that week on having a really life-changing experience. And
isn't that what these meetings are supposed to be? Two people meet and there's like, wow, there's something going on here. Isn't it exciting? And then both sides feel excited rather than, oh, this is not quite the right thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, and so Lee experienced a blueprint call, and that was coming in through the Autonomy marketing. He learned about Autonomy, he got on the calendar, and then me or Richard or one of the sales teams has a call with you. And those are really special conversations because you've already been vetted, you've already like became aware of Autonomy from very select avenues of communities. So like, I've never had a blueprint call that I didn't like enjoy. Some of them are like they're not ready, but bottom line, like these are the type of people, the like freedom loving type of people that I want to that I want to know, and so even if they haven't joined Autonomy or yet, it's still like really great meeting this quality type of people. Anybody else able to like reflect back on their first conversation with Rich before joining Autonomy and now understanding the methods of sales, being able to add some more dimension to what their experience was? Cool. Anybody else have any breakthroughs this week? We had a lot going on. There was a lot of other classes and presentations that went on this week. Anybody else have any highlights?
Hey, Joshua, I just wanted to say again that I think one of my biggest highlights was the meeting that I had with you and Kara this week. And I can't believe it was only this week. Like it feels like it was a lifetime ago. But when we were talking, talking originally about test drive and getting that project going, having you, I don't know, it's like you picked up on the thing that is really bringing me more joy, which is the personality types and connecting with the bird styles. And I really appreciate you saying, I mean, I was very uncomfortable when he basically like told me like, let's get on the schedule. I'd like you to teach us how to do that, because I've got this certification in teaching about these personality styles based on the birds.
I'll tell you from my perspective what happened.
Okay, sure. So you put me in a corner and
yeah. So Beth has recently got certified for these a personality theory that uses 4 bird types to define people. I found it really easy and easy to remember and to utilize. And Beth was talking about how her daughter, her 5-year-old daughter, has been picking this up and now incorporating it into like the way that she sees others, but also herself. I'd love to, yeah, maybe you can tell people about that. So Beth was telling us about this in this meeting. I could see like the joy of the experience coming out of her. And I just asked her to, hey, it'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great to present this to the rest of the class. Totally easy, like carefree. And I could see Beth like kind of freeze up, and I like kind of moved away from that topic and then circled back around her and got her to commit to a day. So we're announcing it here first, but on November 30th, that afternoon, Beth is going to put on a short presentation talking about these personality types. I hope to like add this kind of to autonomy, so we can use the gems or we can use these bird types, whatever fits easier for people. But then I was able to get a commitment out of Beth, and you were kind of deer in the headlights when it was all said and done. What was going on through your head?
Well, it definitely was because that wasn't the aim of the meeting, and it was to talk about something else. And so by the end, I had signed on for something that I had no intention of doing yet, and it's something that I would be thrilled to do after months and months of preparation. Kind of that's my style, and so having to commit to it on the fly, it really it was challenging for me, because I wanted to backpedal and be like, whoa, like, you know, I've got this to do and I have this other thing to do, and I really don't have time to do that perfectly. I need to do it perfectly. But I appreciated that you brought that to me and that opportunity, and I want to seize the opportunity. And then it's like through the week, as I thought about it, and I was, you know, I'm nervous and excited at the same time, it somehow, like, the pieces started to fall into place where I was like, oh, like, I see that I'm animated and excited to talk about that. Like, it's obvious to me, because I can see myself, you know, even when I'm talking this to, you know, Zoom calling with somebody else, like, I can see my body does different things, my face does different things. And then suddenly it's like that answer became the answer to what we were actually originally trying to talk about in the first place in the meeting. It kind of came full circle. And so, like, I think we're going to be able to take this body of knowledge and put that into this other thing that we're creating with Test Drive. And so, I don't know, it was a big aha for me. And I'm still, you know, sitting with it and trying to figure out, you know, still how to pull it all off. But I appreciate you pushing me in that way, because I needed that. If you had said, if I would have normally said, well, I'll get back to you, and then we'll put it on the schedule, you know, maybe next year, maybe in February or something, that would have not been as powerful.
Awesome.
So thanks.
Well, Richard Grove's rubbing off on me, and I was able to pick up on that, and I knew I deliberately was very gentle with my approach with getting your commitment on that, because I knew if too forcefully and you would have backpedaled, right? But I just put it out there, and you chose to do it, right? Like, I didn't force you into something that you weren't ready for. I made that opportunity available, and you did step up, which is part of your growth, right? Like, that maybe not would have happened a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So now it's on the calendar, and I really love getting multiple things accomplished with the same effort, right? So you're going to be preparing for this, and then it ties into the other project that we're working on. And so we get value as a community. You get to organize that information and have it in a presentable manner. You get a nice soft test run doing it into Autonomy. I imagine you're going to knock it out of the park. And so then you're going to have a nice solid piece of digital value that you can then transfer over and apply to your other project, all in the same amount of effort.
Right. I think the thing that kind of helped seal it for me this week is, like, a couple lectures ago, Richard talked about focusing on who you want to be, not what you want to do. And my tendency is to figure out what I want to do and then make, like, the master plan that then, you know, has all the sub plans. And I'm like, that can take, you know, that can put me into, like, paralysis of analysis, something, whatever, those two words together. But I, like, as I kept thinking about that, I'm like, focusing on who I want to be. I know who I want to be. And that includes this idea of being able to communicate better and better and better and better. And it's like, I can't do that unless I'm practicing. So thank you. I've talked a lot more than usual.
Just do it.
Okay.
Just do it. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's yes, it's great to have you. Anybody else want to share about any breakthroughs this week? It's really awesome to see everybody getting to this stage in the season, and like all these aha moments are starting to take off. We're only halfway through the season, and now like you're starting to see this buffet table of all these different things that you can either apply to what you want to be doing, or you can test out acquiring new skills. And there's a ton of other people, for all the helpers out there that need help with the projects they're working on, and applying these things to help them reach their goals. And that's what I love to do. I'm a natural helper, and so this is just very fulfilling for me. Anybody else have some moments from this last week? Well, awesome. Well, this has been a very Do It Live Autonomy podcast. I really appreciate everybody showing up. There's a lot of cool things coming in on the calendar. Next Tuesday at 9 p.m., we're going to be having, her name's Vivian, but she goes by Lioness. She is a mother of a self-educated child, a successful self-educated child who was homeschooled and homeschooled, and then decided to go to college in order to learn physics. And so she has this like amazing story of how to accomplish that, how to teach our kids outside of the public school and still set them up for whatever direction that they want to head. So this is going to be a great conversation. Lee's going to be helping co-host that. Adam James is going to be there for that. And this lady's like a powerhouse, really great person. And I look forward to that conversation. We got Q&A happening tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. People are, like I said, having these light bulb moments. And so I imagine there's going to be lots of questions about how to apply these sales skills. And then the dojo is going to be blowing up from here on out. I just sent out a message this afternoon to all the graduates to get them to come participate, brush up on their skills. This is a great opportunity to develop your own skills for communication as we move into the holidays. And we can all I imagine use some brushing up on skills before the holiday conversations take off. So I look forward to seeing everybody in the dojo room and getting these skills underway.
Thank you for reminding me that her name is Vivian. I had a one-on-one meeting with her. She's interesting. She's like a poet, a director, or she's been involved with like film production, all kinds of things. She's from like Spain, but like living, I think, what is it, Texas or something like that?
Yeah, Texas. Yeah.
She's like, her story is interesting, but then of course what she did with her, like the story of the homeschooling and all that stuff and where her son is at now. There was no barriers for him. It was not like this limited him or interfered with a great career and a great life. No way at all. It was kind of like a empowering of another human being, the way that was supposed to be, what we all perhaps wished school was, but of course has not been for like over 100 years. So that's going to be really cool.
Well, check out the calendar to participate in that live. Otherwise, you'll be able to catch the replay in the University of Reason library. And I'll plan on catching you all either in the dojo this week or at tomorrow's Q&A.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.